As you might be aware, I live in the beautiful country of Scotland, but the one thing we don't get here is a proper summer. So now I'm not really mad about that because I am not a hot weather person, but that means that most of the year I basically wear the exact same things. Just a little blouse, a little skirt, usually knit tights, and then a cardigan on top, because usually it's around 10 to 15 degrees and raining. But occasionally we do get a hot day, and then I'm always really overwhelmed as to what I'm even meant to wear. And in addition to that, we did book a holiday to France in July this year because there is an expedition concert. I was really eager to see Alice perform because I love her and I love all the expedition music and I really want to go, but it's gonna be so hot. So in this video, we are going to tackle this exact problem because I don't have a summer wardrobe at all. So we're going to make an entire summer wardrobe. So now obviously we can't make an entire wardrobe in one video. So I'm going to be splitting this up into 2 videos, but you will see the reveal for each of the pieces I make in the individual video. Let's take a look at the amazing stack of fabric I have acquired from Fabworks because they had a summer sale and I just needed everything. So I have already teased this fabric stash in my last video, but it's actually grown since because I placed a second order. These are the fabrics I'll be working with throughout the summer. But for now, we will just be working with 3 of the fabrics. So let me show you what the plan is for the first video. So we are going a very brown and very romantic for our first set of summer clothes. So this video will be kind of light academia, cottagecore, just, you know, flowy dresses and skirts and white blouses and just really romantic things that will be very nice to wear. We have a beige and brown gingham. So this one I'm very excited about because it's really hard to find a gingham that's not just white and a different color. This is also 100% linen, and actually that was the fabric I was like, I need this fabric so much. I think this is going to be amazing for a dress. So the dress I have in mind is a pattern that I've been looking at on Etsy for absolute ages, and I've been telling myself I will make it one day, so the day has finally come. So the dress I'll be working on is the Avelina dress by Rebecca Jane Patterns. So in this case, I was showing you here. It has a quite high waistline, so it's almost like Regency inspired, not properly, but just, you know, vaguely, and I do really like the silhouette of it. And then for these 2 fabrics, I am going to be making a very plain, very swooshy circle skirt. I am actually wearing a circle skirt right now as well. This is a Son de Floor skirt, but something I've noticed is with skirts and like generally with clothes, I always tend to make things from really cool patterns because I often feel like it's boring to just work with like a plain linen. But then the problem is, if I've got all of these really cool jumpers that have a pattern and all of these skirts that have a tartan and then all of these blouses that have stripes at some point, it's just getting a bit wild. I'm thinking, because I have so many striped blouses, but actually I don't have a single summer skirt that's made from linen that doesn't have some kind of stripe or tartan pattern. So that is going to be a really nice addition. So now I didn't go for a super plain linen. I'll show you up close. It actually has a bit of texture to it. And then to match, I'm going to make another little blouse because lately I've been making a lot of blouses and they're all striped. So in this case, I actually just would like to have a little white blouse that is very romantic and very cute, but also very plain because, you know, again, I have been making a lot of things that have patterns and points of interest, and it just can get a little bit much. So I just want some plain basic items to add to my wardrobe here. Also, as I'm just editing this, I'm realizing I should maybe put in a little note here to say I am realizing my plans are not overly summery for most people because I just am not a big fan of showing my arms and my legs. So I wouldn't really want to go out in like a mini skirt or like shorts and just like a tank top. That's not really something I would feel comfortable in. So what I'm making here is as summery as it will get for me, and possibly the best thing I can wear out of the things I could wear in hot weather, but there would be better options that I just don't really consider for myself because I just don't like showing skin. So, but yeah, anyways, let's jump straight back in and do some sewing. First try on, and it is safe to say every single time I work with a modern pattern, it's just too big. This can be redeemed, so this is not the end of the world. It's just, I mean, it's not meant to be super overly fitted, but it's just a bit too big. So the way I will do this is, I actually haven't sewn the side seams shut yet, so I can just adapt the side seams because I actually do think that the bust line is really nice. It's just there is a lot of space on the sides, which there isn't really meant to be because I wanted to put in a little side zipper to make it a little bit more fitted, but then, you know, it would have to actually be fitted to justify doing the zipper. So I'll just adapt the side seams to make it a little bit more fitted. And then we've got the whole neckline issue, which is a bit more of a problem. So if I had done a mock-up, I would have probably cut this all out to be a bit higher. But I think there's just way too much of straps. So currently, if I pull it into place, it kind of sits like this. So I will just pull the straps up higher and see whether that makes it sit better. Also, the armholes are just massive, so I wouldn't want that either. So everything just goes a little bit higher, and then we try it on again. Also, just to say, it did have seam allowance in the pattern. I did check it, and I did account for it. So not the same problem as in the last video. I fitted everything, and I had to take about 1 inch out of the seams here, and then probably about 1.5 inches out of the back seam because it was kind of like just very loose and hanging off my body. And then also that fixed the problem that these straps were a little bit too wide. And they're still sliding a little bit, but generally speaking, everything fits better now. I don't think I've got to take tons out of the side seams now because I adjusted the back seam, but that means the bodice is fitted now, so I can now do the exact same thing again so that I have the lining and the outer matching up. I have fused the lining with the outer, so the neckline is completely done now. I mean, as in like I need to iron it and then top stitch it, but generally speaking, it's not a raw edge anymore. This side seam is done. And this one here is open because that's where the zipper is going to go. So the next thing we're going to do is the sleeves. Before I do that, I will tell you that I'm currently rewatching K-pop Demon Hunters. It's just so good. Like, it has no right to be so good. I love it. I love it. But that's not news. So let's take a quick look at the sleeve. So for this dress, the sleeve is kind of like elbow length maybe, and then there is meant to be an elastic in there. So now I don't like sleeves like that. So I have shortened the sleeve a little bit. So it's currently just about elbow length, but without it being kind of like folded inward and elastic. And then I just have a tiny little cuff that will be folded and goes in here, and I just gather everything in there. And I have to say, just looking at the screen, I really like what the color does to my skin complexion. So very excited about this project currently. Let's put the sleeve in and see what it looks like. We have a bodice finished, but there is a bit of a problem, and it's right here. So I think the bodice just really wants to sit like this, but I have the world's smallest shoulders in the history of humankind, so it just doesn't really want to sit, even though I already took like 1.5 inches out of the back seam. So I think the only way of making this sit properly without like showing my bra straps is to maybe go in and put a little dart or something here, because if this was like that, it would be perfect. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It will look a little bit untidy, especially because it's lined and you'll see the dart from the inside, but oh wow. That is the plan for this. And next I'm going to make the skirt. So the skirt is just a little A-line skirt pattern. So you see it flaring out a little bit to the side. And it's basically just going to be gathered into the bodice. Nothing too fancy. We're obviously going to do pockets because without pockets, there's just no point to even making anything. This is my normal pocket pattern. The only thing we have to consider is normally I would put the pocket about like 1 inch, 1.5 inches from the waistline. The waistline is really high. So if I was to put the pocket here, I'd be kind of standing, you know, like this. So that would be awkward. So the pocket has to be somewhere where my hands can casually rest. Also, because there is a side zipper on the side here, I can only put the pocket into the side seam on this side And then on this side, the pocket will have to be attached to the front panel, and then the side zipper will be sewn with the pocket to the front of it. So that's something to consider while I'm sewing. But other than that, things are coming along quite nicely, other than the whole shoulder issue. And I've just finished my rewatch of K-pop Demon Hunters. It's just way too good for what it is, and the ending it's just always breaks me a little bit. But I'm just rambling here because I need to take the dog out and I don't want to. So let's do that. We have a dress. I am actually so happy with how it turned out. Let me show you. Oops. So what do you think? I think it turned out so cute, and it is so pretty, and it is so versatile in the way I can style it, but I will not show you yet what it looks like on me, because that would be spoiling the reveal. And also because we still have 2 more items to make. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make a circle skirt from my brown fabric. So that is this fabric here. So with circle skirts, I normally prefer to make them as panel circle skirts. So rather than just cutting out half a circle and then fusing them on the side seams, I usually go for a double panel right here and then a panel here and there. And for the back, if the closure is in the back seam, I usually just have a double panel to the side and another double panel to this side. So that's what I will be cutting out from this fabric, and then I will also give it side pockets. That will be quite straightforward. With the blouse, I have been thinking forth and back what kind of blouse pattern I should be making, because obviously, you know, I've been using my Edwardian blouse pattern and my 1940s blouse pattern. I've got some other ones, but I actually would really like to have another blouse with a square neck. So this one, for example, has a square neck. I actually really love that on me. This blouse, unfortunately, is quite cropped, so it is a little bit too big. So I think if it's set quite tightly, I would really like it. But I don't normally reach for it because I can't tuck it in. It just comes undone so easily. So I'm thinking, what if I just use the exact same pattern that I just used to make the dress, but to make the blouse? Because that would also mean that the entire wardrobe would be quite harmonious together. So everything would kind of like fit together, and the dress could be worn like without a corset because it has the higher waist. What I should say, I didn't give it a waistband, but this little strap that I kind of just on each of the side seams put in, because then I can just pull it tight without it having to be really tight on the waist, because I don't really like the sensation of something being tight on the waist if I don't wear a corset, which I know is a little bit silly, but basically the corset makes it so I don't get pain from tight waistbands. So I can't really stand the feeling of a waistband on my non-corseted body. But so the dress is more of something I would wear without a corset, even though I can also twist the waistbands to fit me if I wear a corset. Whereas with the circle skirt and the blouse, that would be maybe what I would wear with a corset. So because I love the bodice of the dress so very much, I'm thinking, what if I just use the exact same pattern, other than for the alterations we've just done, because I've already transferred them to the pattern, and I just extended the pattern to be an actual long blouse that can be tucked in. And then I'd also have the nice square neckline, even though I would probably take it a little bit higher up just to be a little bit more modest. But I could make this from this super lovely white fabric that I have for the blouse. Everything would look so nice and harmonious together, and I'd have such a nice blouse that is very different to everything else I have. So I think that is what I'm gonna go for. Let's do that, but on a different day, because I've already done enough sewing today. So I'll see you in a second. I am still in my pajama, and yes, my voice might sound a little bit funny because I have a cold, but we have to continue working on this project. When I got up this morning, I was just kind of coughing and sneezing and not feeling well, and my eyes are so watery because it's so bright, and I was just trying to do my makeup and my eyes were just like watering, and I was just like, ugh. And Jack walked in and he was like, you know, why don't you just stay in bed? And I was like, I can't because I have to work. And he was like, you have to work today, but it's a Saturday. And I'm like, I still have to work as a YouTuber.
But also just to update you all on how the new job is going. So far it's been really nice because I genuinely just do stuff that feels really natural to me anyway. So I've been just editing videos. Like, we've had a lot of live streaming going online for potential master students, and they all went on YouTube, and then I just took all the files and cut them into reels. And I attended some events and just took pictures of students working on their project. It's just that Jack gave me a cold, and I've been really trying to keep it together while I was at work, not sounding like I'm ill. But yeah, so I'm still in my pajama currently because I need to cut out my fabric, and once I've done that, I will change into my filming clothes so I look a little bit more proper. But also, I mean, I guess this is a pajama I have made with you guys, so maybe these are filming clothes. Okay, so it is midday now, and I still haven't dressed. So I've finished the skirt, as I said. It's just all seams sewn together. In the back, I've added a little bit of elastic to the waistband. Then I put a button right here. The flap is still open, so I'll probably have to add some hooks and eyes to close that. But other than that, the skirt is finished. So I'm currently just letting it hang out a little bit because the side seams are 2 diagonal seams sewn together. Or not diagonal seams, but just like the way the fabric is cut on the bias. Whereas here in the front, I have a bias cut on this side and a straight cut on that side, so that doesn't really hang out. But I'm a little bit worried about the side seam, so I don't want the skirt in the end to kind of sit like this for the hem. So I'll let this hang out a little bit and see how it fares. And in the meantime, I'm going to make my mock-up for the blouse, which is just the main panels. So I have like the front, side back, and the back. I'll just sew all of that together from the mock-up fabric that I'm using, just double check, because I thought extending it would be very straightforward. But then as I was changing the pattern, I was like, I actually don't know what I'm doing here. So yeah, we'll just look at what it actually looks like and see how it goes. Because I think this skirt with this fabric gonna look really cute together. Let's just keep working, okay? Can't stop, because when we stop for good. Okay, so here's my initial thoughts. It's not terrible. It generally works, but I need more space in the hips here. So this is something I can immediately tell. It is also maybe a bit too loose, so I'm not sure if I actually want it to be any tighter, because there could be quite a bit taken out of the waist, but then also it doesn't need to be super snug. But definitely needs more space for the hips because it is already quite tight on the mannequin. When I go to the back, you see the same here. So I think from the waist down, I could just give a little bit more space towards the hips, and maybe take some out of the back seam here as well to make it less bulky. So that is what I'm currently seeing, but obviously it might look different on me. So I think it is now time to actually get dressed and try this on. So let's go. So generally speaking, I think it is cute and it is worth pursuing, but I obviously am now trying it on without a corset, whereas this mannequin is my corseted waist. So it is actually not too big at the waist when I don't wear a corset. I obviously, like with the pins, it always looks a little bit stretched, but I think there's like a good 2 centimeter overlap here. So that should be enough to make a button front. And then, like I said, all of this is just to tie it over my hips. Obviously I'm now also wearing it over my trousers. And then on that note, I will also have to extend it a little bit, even though it actually sits quite well. So if I was to put a sleeve on, it wouldn't like rise up or anything. So that's good, but it could still be a little bit longer just to make sure that I don't have it untugging when I move my arms, because that is something I have with some blouses and it makes me not want to ever wear them, because I just hate it so much when I lift my arms and the blouse comes out of my trousers, out of my skirt, just hangs over it. Like, why? So we're not going to do that. So I'm just gonna alter my pattern pieces a little bit to accommodate for the extra hip room and to make them a little bit longer. So I think just with a few small alterations, it should be fine. So let's go. But also before I continue, let me show you the very cute jumper I found on eBay. Isn't this adorable? Let's actually do some sewing. So the blouse is coming together, but what I am realizing is this fabric is very, very see-through, which is not at all bad, because I am usually wearing like little like cami underneath, so it's not like I'm worried about that. But what you can see is that all of the seam allowance is much whiter than where there's no seam allowance, and because it is not a technical blouse but a bodice, it just looks a bit funny. Like it fits well, but just because of the extra white where the seam allowance is, it's not perfect. But then also I don't have enough fabric to cut out a lining, but I do have another fabric. It's a different white, but I could perhaps use this to make a lining with, because I don't think it's going to work without a lining, just based on how see-through it is. And also it could be a little bit more stabilized. Like it generally fits really nicely, but it could be a little bit stiffer. So I think I'm just going to cut the exact same pattern out again from this fabric, and then we'll see again whether it looks better. So we are done. We've managed to finish the blouse and the skirt. I still need to do a little bit of ironing, especially around the hem. But other than that, we have managed to make a blouse, a skirt, and a dress in 2 days, despite me being ill and suffering quite a bit. But I'm really glad we've managed to do this, because now I have this really amazing set of summer clothes that I'm so excited to try on. On top of that, I also got myself a new pair of summer shoes. I've been wanting a red pair of shoes for ages, because I've obviously been wearing all of these like baguette outfits with a little red necktie, and I thought, you know, it would be so cute to have a red pair of shoes to tie in with the red, and then also red lipstick and maybe red nails. So I've been looking at different red shoes, and this one pair I kept cycling back to, and I ended up buying them. I'm super excited because I really, really like them. They're like 100% a pair of shoes that my grandma would wear, and I love wearing things that my grandma wears as well. So like the trousers I'm currently wearing, like baguette trousers, you know, you see me wearing them all the time. So last time I visited my grandma, I was telling her, look, we're actually wearing such similar pairs of trousers, and we were just like sitting next to each other, and our trousers were the exact same length. That means we are ready for the reveal, and the next time you guys will see me, I will be much healthier, hopefully, and a little bit more cheerful, and maybe a little bit better styled. But most importantly, I will be in my new summer clothes with my little new summer red sandals, and I will hopefully be looking really cute. And hopefully it will also be a little bit warmer, because it's actually quite cold, as you can tell by me wearing a jumper. We have just made summer clothes, so we need summer weather eventually. But I'll stop talking because my voice is giving in on me, and I will see you guys in the reveal. I almost forgot to film the outro. So how did the things turn out? I think the dress is probably my favorite. I think it just turned out so lovely, but it might just be because the fabric is really nice, so it couldn't really go wrong. And also generally the fit is really nice. I can wear it without a corset, just with like tying the strap to the back, or with a corset to the front. And I was a little bit worried because the fit is like slightly similar to the cursed pinafore I made some videos back. And I was wondering if I pull the strap forward and tie it, whether that then looks funny, because it looked funny with the other pinafore. But for some reason, this actually works. So now I've got a really nice versatile dress that I can wear multiple different ways. The skirt, I mean, couldn't really go wrong. It's just a circle skirt. Do really love it. I've not put hooks and eyes into the back closure yet, so that's just like open currently, so I still have to do that, but I didn't really find the time. As for the blouse, so it turned out fine. It is wearable. I did line it, which gave it a little bit more stability, but it still was very flimsy around the button front. So I actually, not sure if you saw this in the video, but I had to put pins in between all the buttons to keep it closed because it was just gaping so very much. So I guess I'm glad I lined it, because otherwise that would have been even worse. But just, yeah, not really what I wanted. So I think I'll also have to put hooks and eyes in between all the buttons to make sure it closes properly. So I will do that at some point. But generally speaking, I mean, the blouse, yeah, it's not the most amazing thing I've ever made, but I think it complements the set of clothes I've made quite well. So generally speaking, I'm happy with this set of clothes. It works really well with the shoes, which you saw in the reveal as well. And obviously then I paired it with my little red scarf, which if it's really hot I probably shouldn't wear, but maybe I'll have to make something from like a linen or a cotton to wear so that I can still wear my little expedition scarf. And then obviously my berets, I've tried to pick up the red in this, and I really like it. I think it's just, yeah, really nice items that I've made that I'm going to wear a lot over summer. So this was a success, and that means we can now head off and make the other batch of clothes that I'm planning to make for summer in the next video. So it's going to be another 2 or 3 weeks until you will see me again, just because 2 weeks of sewing, and then I'll have to see when to add it. But I really enjoyed this, even though I was quite ill, and I'm still a little bit ill. So I would have probably otherwise just sat on the sofa all day and done nothing. So we've been productive. This is good. And I actually spent all night yesterday watching Off Campus. So I don't know if you've seen it yet. I'm not into like sports romances, like that's not my kind of thing. I like high fantasy, but I thought, you know, yesterday after all the sewing I was feeling really poorly, and I was like, I'm just gonna watch something really dumb. I'm obsessed. When I got ready this morning I was like, I'm gonna, you know, film this, the reveal, but I was just like sitting here watching it. The yearning's really good. So if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it to all of my fantasy girlies, because like other than it not being fantasy, it is basically romantasy, if you know. Let's just imagine he's not an ice hockey captain, but the captain of the guard or something. But other than that, I'm really enjoying it. And it has the guy in it that everyone's saying is going to play Satan. So again, not Fourth Wing fan, but still, I saw him, I was like, it's Satan. So yeah, so I highly recommend it. It's not good, but it is good. So go watch it. And that's the end of the video. So I hope you guys are doing well and you're enjoying summer, and it is warmer where you are than it is in Scotland, because it's still very cold here, but not too warm, obviously, just like the perfect temperature, which is probably around 17 to 18 degrees. And I hope I see you all in my next video. So bye-bye.